that can be made into a product and recirculated back into another product, either the same product or a different product. Okay, that's it in its basic form. However, there's so many nuances, and it's way more than the product itself. So, I'd also like to introduce you to our co-founder of Real Circularity, which is the amazing Ken Alston. First, I'll say who I am, in case you didn't know and haven't met me before. I'm Sheila. I'm founder of Circular Earth, and I am an ecosystem architect. We'll discuss what that looks like later on. I've spent 2 decades in the design and development of fashion companies, working in many different places: China, India, Turkey, like many of you guys do. I moved into sustainability 7 years ago when my mother passed away, and I thought, you know what? I can be a part of this future. So I started to just get really curious about everything about sustainability, circularity, and then the last 2 or 3 years really looked and worked in the regenerative sector. So I'm working with Ken, who worked with the originators of the circularity movement, which back in the day, in the 1980s, was called Cradle to Cradle. If anyone's read that book, please go and do read it, because it's an amazing start to understand circularity at its pure form. So he worked with those founders and implemented many early circularity practices. And we've come together to offer to companies to help you, small to medium-sized businesses, to start your journey to real circularity. And you'll hear a little bit from Ken later on. Unfortunately, he's not in the UK, so he can't join us here today, but we'll have a little video from him with just a little taster of his massive intelligence in this sector. So that's us, and we can talk about us all day, but what I really want to talk about is you as well. So Circular Earth is our consultancy, and our stand is to work in real circularity, a real pragmatic approach of how you apply it in real life in your business, moving away from circularity as a concept and into a pragmatic application. Okay? So our approach will always be to look at the evolution and the nurturing of regenerative and circular processes. To me, they go hand in hand of the same thing and a big part of a whole system. So we look at it in a whole systems perspective. Don't worry about some of these words now. We'll share and showcase what that looks like as we go along. So we work with product, locality, and people together with a next use opportunity for your product and your business. The first thing that Ken and I look at is how to change attitudes, and then behavior will follow. So I want to ask you a question. Is your business in congruence with your personal values? And I know some of you can put your hand up to this, right? So would everyone just like to get involved with you, right? So could you tell me now, is your business in congruence with your personal values about the world and about other people? Can we have some big hands of those who are loud and proud about this? Fantastic, yeah. I want for a future where everyone puts their hand up to this, yeah? And it's not to make anyone bad and wrong. This is the way the world has been for so long. We've had a take away, make waste attitude to our businesses, just because that's just the way the world's worked. And we're advocating that we move into a different space with this. Okay. Fab. So good to see some people interacting with me. A lot of businesses, whether they're big or small, are siloed into different thinking, into one industry or one specific part of it. Okay, you might be looking at fair trade principles, you might be looking at, longevity in your business. You also might have different departments that you're working with. Those of you in large companies, do those departments speak to each other? So what we want to move away from is being in these siloed different spaces and start to come together to overlay what we're doing. Not only in our own businesses, but in the businesses that we interact with and the inter-industry that we need to bring towards this. Sustainability and circularity, and definitely the regenerative, is about how we start to build in different ways, how we start to interact with energy sectors, how we start to interact with the built environment. Some of our waste can become food and fuel for those other industries, and vice versa. And we've seen that in the ecosystem that we've created as well. A lot of people utilizing waste from one industry and creating amazing new stuff that can then go on into a second use opportunity. Okay. So we use a whole systems perspective where we see and are able to move between these two spaces of the macro, the big, looking at how everything interlocks, like zooming out, like being a massive eagle, being a generalist, and then being able to really focus down in our niche, in a specialist attitude. And that's what we help businesses to do, to be able to start to use that muscle. It is a muscle, right? Like going to the gym. It's not like, okay, because we've come to this event today, okay, I've got circularity now, right, on the journey, let's go, right? Even for us, this is a journey, a constant learning journey. Yeah, and I've sat there like you guys 7 to 10 years ago, listening to other people on the stage like this. You can be a part of this change, absolutely. And that's what we want to help on the journey with. So circularity is way more than just the product. A lot of people focus on product as being the thing, and it is so important to make that circular, but how that interacts in a whole systems perspective is to think not only of the product, but of your impact on the water, on the environment, on the things around you, on where you get your energy from. Is that renewable? Where you're moving things from and to. The social systems that are in place. Circularity is also a part of how we create new economies, how we can create new business structures that work for the future that is not about constant GDP growth. And growth is good, right? If we have a child or a tree or something like that, we'll say, yeah, actually, we want it to grow up and to become a part of our universe. However, it can't exponentially grow to be like a child that's right up to the top of there, right? And one thing that's really missed is locality. So, where is it that you're creating? How are you impacting communities in that area? Actually, how are you getting that thing from one place to another? And how you can be a part of regenerating economies all over the world, whether it's here or the global south. And that's a huge part of circularity that is lost in today's world of constant focus on product and materials. So we look at this in a whole systems perspective. So today we also want to, I'm from up north, as you might have understood by my accent. I like to actually get real and figure out how we can pragmatically do this. And I worked with Ken, or we did, I is over there, our circularity assistant, hi. We worked together to figure out how we can pragmatically do that, how we can start interlinking with other businesses, helping that connection in the macro, so that you can be in the micro, changing in both aspects. So today, hold on to that thought process now about being a massive eagle and seeing the macro, and being in your product and whatever you're creating, whether you're a designer, whether you're a garment tech, whether you're in PR, wherever you are, wherever you're in education, right? Hold on to that as we're talking today. And I might have a little talk with some of you. Don't be scared, okay? All good, right. So we're going to just do a first bit where we're going to ask for a consensus here. Do you think that in 2023, that we are more sustainable than we were 36 years ago when Ken started? So do we have a yes? Anyone a yes here? Hands up. Yes? Maybe? Maybe? You think we might be more, so she thinks we might be more sustainable now than we were 36 years ago. Yeah. It could be the other way. Exactly. Anyone else want to hazard a guess? I'm going to pick on you. No. Okay. Well, Ken is going to bust myth one. Most people think that because we've got some kind of technologies and everything's happening, that we might be more sustainable than we were 36 years ago. So here's Ken.
Hello, Rachel and Pure Show. Thanks for inviting me to be part of your event today. I want you to think for a moment about how unsustainable we still are in our daily lives and work. Given that it's now 36 years from the original definition of sustainable development, and lots of people and companies have diligently tried to be more sustainable, but we're still unsustainable after all these years. In fact, we're arguably less sustainable now than when the World Commission on Environment and Development first coined the phrase sustainable development way back in 1987. Everyone remembers the definition as meeting the needs of today without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. But they forgot, or more likely never knew, that sustainable development is actually two concepts. First, meeting the essential needs of the world's poor, to which overriding priority should be given. And second, limitations imposed by the state of technology and social organization on the environment's ability to meet present and future needs. And for most people, it's the second of these concepts they think about as sustainable development. Now, as for me, part of the problem is that most teaching of sustainable development is what I call simplistic sustainability. Either the three E's, economy, equity, and environment, often depicted as an equilateral triangle, or perhaps the three P's, people, planet, and profits, often shown as an interlocking Venn diagram, with sustainability sitting magically at the center. Now, these concepts are okay to begin thinking beyond just a financial bottom line if you're in business. But they're flat, two-dimensional conceptual models. Models that don't give you any real clues as to what to do in the complexities of the real world. And next, when we say, oh, the answer is circular economy, well, is it? I can think of many unsustainable circular ways of acting too. Circularity isn't automatically sustainable. So that's why, Rachel, you and I work on what we call real circularity, a symbiotic combination of sustainability and circular economy concepts applied in the real world. These require going deep with multidimensional models. My work on developing a fractal approach to looking deeply at how nature is self-sustaining, and also designing a parallel fractal approach for sustainably circular product cycles, is part of how we zoom out to look at the macro and then go deep into the micro on a case-by-case basis. Personally, I'm very optimistic about designing a more sustaining future. There's a new dissatisfaction with the status quo. There are new emerging standards, new behaviors, new markets, and new cultures. Thank you for inviting me to your event, and enjoy the rest of your discussion with Rachel.
So thanks, Ken. Amazing, right? And he still feels confident after 36 years and being less sustainable now than we were then. He's still ready to go. So love Ken's energy, amazing. And as he said, a lot of what we do is looking at how we imitate nature. A lot of the regenerative practice is about this, not just in the creation of materials, but in the creation of systems, new business systems that support the circular and regenerative economy. So I want you to imagine you as a business or someone going about their work, being a busy bee, right? As you go about your work, you're actually maybe getting the honey for yourself, or you're collecting nectar to create that honey. But as you're being busy, you're creating what we call as processionary benefit, something called pollination, that when you're going about your business, you're creating those beneficial effects, and that's what we want to house in everything that we're doing. And we'll discuss what that looks like as we go along. So much like a tree, we're creating synergy. In a tree, you're breathing in carbon dioxide, and you're breathing out oxygen for others. And that's what we want to be as businesses. This is an interesting concept, right? You might think, Rachel's been a bit woo-woo now. Okay, let's not go into that. But essentially, it's using nature's practice to create a new structure, a new system. So, in reality, what would that look like? Maybe if you were creating a pair of shoes, could the processionary benefit be that there are nutrients that go out into the world, like seeds, that then create in that environment? So I'd like you to think now, just contemplate how many ways in my business can we make the world a better place just by being a business? How can you create constantly processionary benefits? If there's anyone that wants to have a chat with me there, then all good. What could you do? You can contemplate that as we go through this journey. So conventional sustainability goals look at reduction. Let's make it less bad. Yes? Okay, good. Is that going to cut the mustard when we have such a big hill to climb? Possibly not. We might say, let's go for zero. You might hear a lot of people talking about net zero. Who's heard of net zero? Let's go to net zero. Let's cut carbon to kind of flatline on this stuff. Much like the bee, we need to move away from less bad and think about what we're missing. Can we create constant positive or processionary benefits from actually being a business? Let's move away from zero and go to hero. So moving from the non-beneficial to constant beneficial futures. So there's two complementary strategies: reducing non-beneficial aspects and moving away from the linear economy, and increasing the beneficial impacts with sustainably circular models and economics. One thing we look at as well is how we can unsolve unsustainability. As Ken mentioned, a lot of our diagrams and concepts are quite flat. We might have people, planet, profit. I thought everyone heard of people, planet, profit, how we gauge that. And usually that's kind of an equal thing between all of these things. Actually, concepts are very simple to put on a piece of paper, but in reality, it's very difficult and complex to create. In reality, the finance, the economics, is way bigger impact than a lot of these other things. So, of course, our constant focus on creating money means that everything else is not fast enough. So we like to be real about that. And if I could create a game of musical chairs right now, I would, okay? In our economic business as usual system, it's kind of like being in a very crude game of musical chairs. Who knows what musical chairs is from your youth? Yeah? Okay, you go around, you might lose your chair as a kid and you're a bit upset, right? Well, our game as a business as usual is kind of like losing your chair, but when you lose your chair, you lose your access to... Yes, okay. And you're left with not very much, generally, okay? And it invests in competition, just like you were saying, right? It says, eliminates competition. So when I did do this with my students, one of my students said, can I elbow people out of the way? It's okay. And that's what we're in, right? We're in this competitive landscape where we can never be in more of a space of collaboration. So we like to try on a new game of musical chairs, right? Where one chair might house 20 people, where there'd be a chair for one person who likes soft seat and one that likes a hard seat. And hey, if you want to swap, you will. Because that competition element has moved away. And we're starting to come into collaboration. And this is what we work with in our other project called the Ecosystem Incubator. If you are a small micro business or micro player, if you're a consultant, garment tech, anyone who's in the industry from seed to store, we come together with our unique ecosystemic approach. And in our real circularity journey, we're also adding that element. How do you start to interlock with other business and create win-win situations for all of you? To not be in that state of, can I elbow people out of the way? So that might look like share an economy with your own assets, your office, your waste, that waste becoming fuel for other businesses, right? Your cars, your lorries, your workspace, your tech, collaborative buying. Do you each have to go out as individual brands and buy up 3,000 meters of one fabric just for your one brand, when there's 10 other brands who could create that together? Also creating a processionary benefit of you having an agile range to send out there instead of overproducing. So actually you can create an economic benefit and you can create something of an agile range that's then testing the market instead of having that sitting in your back warehouse. And I'm sure I've seen a lot of businesses that have big warehouses of stock, right? So we can create win-wins with these joint ventures. We even can collaboratively market what we're doing. And this is what we do in the incubator, and it's what's the foundation of real circularity. So, one of the questions Ken likes to ask is, what is it that you're trying to sustain? And it's okay to sustain your business. Absolutely. Even though I've just talked about growth, we are. We want to sustain. We want to all thrive. Who wants to thrive in this world? Hell yeah. We want to thrive. And that's what we're doing. We're coming together in this collaborative aspect to start to thrive together. When we're doing our real circularity forums and journey, we use our real assessment. We're looking at resources, education, action, and on my favorite, locality. So in resources, do you really know what's in your product? Yes, she's like, yes, I know what's in my product. Do you know everything that's in everything that's in everything? No. Okay, good. To a chemical level, how that impacts the human and the environmental health impact. And that's what we work with businesses to look at. Ken and I can get our geek glasses on and go right down into that supply chain, right down to the seed, and see what is going on there. Education. Will you ever really know? Like I said earlier on, this is a constant learning journey. We find more things out every week, every month. There's new things coming to the market. The path to continuous learning and curiosity. Where is your data from? Has that got vested interests? We help on that journey too. How are your teams engaged? Are we moving out of these silos? Are we actually housing that we can come together and co-create new futures? So an experiential application. All of your teams, if you have got a big team, have amazing skills. in many different silos that can actually start to complement each other and co-create this future. So making smart choices for your business and future development, ones that come from a place of real understanding and education. Action. If we don't translate this theory into practice, we're never going to get anywhere. So we build people from coming out of a place of just me into we. How can we actually be a part of this action? And not that I'm asking you all to go and glue yourself to buildings. That's not what I mean by action. Action in your business to create a thrivable business and create positive, beneficial, processionary futures. So how do you act? Are you acting in thought or are you reactionary? Are you looking at those future trends? And I use the word loosely, right? Are you actually going, oh, I know that that's going to come to the forefront. Let's actually go and have action on that. So important. Prioritizing and selecting those issues and projects that can be a part of forwarding your circular futures. And then locality. All sustainably circular futures are local and decentralized. Now, I'm not going to wave my magic wand and that happens straight away. Certainly, one business cannot be a part of this. This is about how we work together and create decentralized systems. Where are you? Where is your production? Where are your customers? Where's your downstream? How are you going to get that stuff from your customers and back into a circular process? Systems are a huge part, and businesses can come together to co-create systems. Where do they go next after use? And knowing that in your environment, when you've got your environment sorted, you're sorted. So we also have our unique drawing of the circular economy, which is actually a looped drawing. And of course, this is a concept, but we've tried to apply whole systems to it, where you can see that there's also interlocking loops. Not just the loop of your business, but the loop of others, and how you can put that back into other systems, how their waste can become a part of yours, how their resources and teams could actually become part of what you're doing. A lot of what I've done in the Ecosystem Incubator has been in collaboration. I had no money to start the ecosystem. It was built on pure collaboration, in a tech sense, in building with people, and just building it up together. So you don't have to have any money per se to be ready to do this. One thing we do in our journey is constantly look at our trend radar. What things are coming to the forefront of trend in sustainability? And I was a designer for many years, so I was always looking at what was going on in trend on the catwalks. Now we go, what can we actually see coming forward? At the moment in our radar is a thing called radical transparency. We want to know what's in everything that's in everything that's in everything and be able to share and showcase that. That's a super important part of many of the things that are coming to the forefront. Legislation. That's a huge thing, especially in the EU now, with legislation being a huge part, and taxonomy. This will only come into the UK also. And then investment. There's a huge interest in actual businesses in ESG. So the financial systems are actually asking anyone that they're investing in, what are you doing about your sustainability? What are you doing about circularity? It's seen as a risk if you are not going towards this. So anyone who's going out to get investment, this will be a part of what they assess you on. So this is why we talk about realness. So yes, this is Circular Earth. This is me and Ken and others that I'm working with. Circular Earth was created as I personally didn't want to create anything unnecessarily. And I would prefer to use our collective skills to co-create that future with all of you. We gather the best minds and share and showcase and create win-wins for us consultants too. So if there's anyone in the sustainability sector, do come up and have a chat with me as well. We implore you to do the same, either with or without us. So this is our program. You can work with us. You can do it yourself. Awesome. Or you can start to work with us and co-create your future circularity journey. Stage 1 would be an assessment. What is going on, your real assessment. Stage 2 is assessing a quick win that you can create now to create abundance in your business so that you can go forward and create your roadmap and your blueprint for the future. So that is me done. And if anyone wants to get real and talk real with me and our circularity assistant, Aya, will be over in the Sustainability Hub after this talk. Do feel free to come, have a natter with us, and get started on your journey. Thank you very much, everyone.